Okay, now it says that we're live, so I assume
All
that
right.
we're good to go. All
All
right,
right.
so we've got Dr. Avi here. Corona's happening. Seems like a good time to spread some proper information, debunk some bad information. Yep, I can see it's live now, so we are good to go.
Okay. Good.
And
All
yeah, I
right.
mean, I'm not a medical professional. Obviously, this is pretty much just going to be Avi doing his thing. I figure I give him a platform to talk this issue through. So yeah, what's up, dude?
All right. How's everyone doing, buddy? My dudes and dudettes. So we have a coronavirus pandemic, and it's important to get good information out there because there's, quite frankly, a lot of bad information out there. So we'll get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about is where this thing came from, and the reason we're going to talk about that and start off is because this is relevant to the vegan community. There have been a lot of claims that have been made from the vegan community. Thus far, they have been a little bit unfortunate, and we need to address that and provide accurate information. So you may have heard that this came from pangolin. Is that right, Isaac? I think you've
Yeah,
heard
I
this as
got
well.
I got memed on for first. I said it was bats, then I said it was pangolins, and everyone's hating on me for whatever I say. So I don't know anymore.
Okay, yeah, and that's the correct
Didn't
answer.
come
I don't
from me
know.
though. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. According to the and I believe according to the WHO, we still don't know the correct answer.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so here's what we do know. We do know that there are a number of coronaviruses that infect humans. There are thousands of coronaviruses that infect bats. There are a good
Avi,
number of
your
coronavirus.
your phone is doing that
Yeah.
shit. Can you put it by the window again?
Oh, sure. I think it might just be my sense. Can you hear me audibly
Yeah,
now?
yeah, that's better.
Okay, I think it may just be the sensitivity. Okay, so there are thousands of coronaviruses that infect bats. There are a good number of coronaviruses that infect pangolins, snakes. We don't actually know where it came from. There are genome studies comparing the similarity of the coronaviruses that infect bats, pangolins, um, to humans. The genome of the bat is of the coronavirus that infects bats is more similar than the genome of the coronavirus that infects pangolins to the coronavirus we are dealing with. That being said, there is a receptor binding protein that is responsible for the actual infection that is pretty similar for pangolins. I haven't seen a similarity analysis for the coronavirus receptor binding protein in bats, though, and comparing it to the similarity in bats from similarity in pangolins to how close it is to us. So we actually don't know where this came from. We don't know if it came from the animal agriculture industry. The reason I bring this up is because one of the memes that have been brought up is that pangolins have been sold for their in China, and that is the reason that we have gotten the coronavirus. We don't know that that is the case. It could have been from an interaction with the bat. It could have been. Uh, we don't know. At this point, we don't have a clear enough evidence to make that claim either way. These are possibilities. There are a number of contenders. We don't actually know which one it is, and until we have enough evidence to confidently say what it is, the vegan community should not be making claims about this. So don't. I mean, yeah, and yes, it is true. There are pandemics that have come from animal agriculture. There have come from pandemics that are a result of the way we treat animals and the way we deal with animals, and that needs to be addressed. But that doesn't warrant us making false claims about the coronavirus and what caused it. So we don't need to push the envelope on science. We don't need to stretch anything. We just should be sticking to what we confidently make claims on based on the evidence.
I already see one in there. The virus originated in bats and then was transmitted by pangolins.
Yeah. We don't know that. We don't know that the virus originated in bats and was transmitted in pangolins. Again, so the reason for that inference, people were trying to make that case by saying that the receptor binding protein in the pangolins was is 99% similar or something than the receptor binding protein in that coronavirus that have infected humans. However, When you look at the 96% figure in bats, that is whole genome. That's not the receptor binding protein. And when I haven't seen a similarity analysis on the receptor binding protein in bats, so we can't. It could be that it's that level or higher for all we know. And if that's the case, then it may be the other way around, or just not that way at all. It could be just bats. And also, this relies on the assumption that the receptor binding protein is more important in making the inference of what it directly transmitted from, rather than the whole genome. And I don't know that that's true either. So there's a number of assumptions in that, and it turns out there's missing data. So if you can provide the data, I'd be happy. If you can substantiate that assumption, I'd be happy. But until then, I'll side with what the experts are saying. Seems like they have good reason to say it, that we actually don't know that that's true. We don't know that pangolin. I mean, it's a theory. It's a hypothesis that has been put out there, but we don't know that that's actually the case.
Avi, is it possible to get you to angle your camera down a little bit?
Sure.
Or sit up.
Okay, is that better?
Either angle it down or sit up. But yeah,
right.
because your face keeps going out the bottom.
Sure. Is this go down?
I mean, it's good enough. Maybe, yeah. Maybe a bit higher. Put it up a little bit. But yeah, you just gotta. Yeah, if you move way in, your face goes out the bottom of the frame.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah. Continue with what everything is.
Okay.
So the first thing we got on the table is that the inference for where the claim that it came specifically from pangolins or bats, both of those are not currently substantiated. That's what you're saying right now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, continue. What's next?
Okay. We'll go over why this is so important. So one of the bad memes, the other bad meme that we've been hearing is the comparison. You may have heard this to the flu, that the flu, so many people have been killed by the flu, and so few people have been killed by the coronavirus in comparison to it.
Can I stop?
So why?
You know what? I want to make sure I really properly understand the thing you just said, actually. So.
Okay, sure.
The reason, I just want to be clear, the reason that the inference is bad is because it was based on just go through that one more time with the
yeah, sure. Yeah. So we can compare the whole genome of the bat coronavirus to the human coronavirus, and we can compare the whole genome of the pangolin coronavirus to the human coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what we find, and then the other thing we could compare is the receptor. There's a receptor binding protein that binds to ACE, which is in the lungs, and that's one of the ways that coronavirus can infect us, through the lungs. And the idea, so we could compare the same similarity of that binding protein between.
Can I interrupt for a second? So
Sure.
I think I might understand what you're saying. I just want to make sure you correct me where I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just saying that of the two different kind of analyses we do, where we see how much overlap there is, when we do if we do it with just the protein, we get this big overlap with pangolins. But with the bats, all we've done is genome versus genome. We haven't done it specifically with the protein, so we're not comparing like to like. So the inference that it's closer, the coronavirus and that there's a closer genetic similarity with the coronavirus and the pangolins versus the coronavirus and the bats, it's not stable because we haven't compared like with like. With the pangolins, we did just the binding site or something, and with the bats, we did the whole genome.
Well, the pangolins the pangolins have been, the whole genome has been done as well. It's actually less similar than the bat. The bat is actually more similar to us. But the idea that's been pushed forward is that the receptor binding protein, since that's the one that actually does the infection, that infectious step, that is more important in determining what it came from. So, and there is a 90. Yeah, go ahead.
But we don't understand how much overlap there is with the receptor binding protein in bats. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
Right. So the thing that gave us this really high overlap is something we actually haven't done with bats. So we just don't know. It could go either way. You look at the bats and it's a higher overlap or lower overlap.
So there's two things. Yeah, there's two things that need to be true. Number one, that it is actually the case that the receptor binding protein homology is more important than the overall genome homology. That needs to be the case. Otherwise, we would just conclude bats and not pangolins, because we already know that the whole genome, bats are more similar than pangolins for human coronavirus compared to the animal coronavirus. So it has to be, we have to rely on the assumption that the receptor binding protein is more important to make that inference. And number two, we need to establish that it actually is true that there's more homology with the receptor binding protein between pangolins and humans.
So it's now forgive my lack of like understanding of the biology and using the right terms and stuff, but you're basically saying we need these two assumptions to carry through. Firstly, that looking at just the receptor binding protein as opposed to the whole genome, that's a better way of determining where it originated from, and then additionally that the overlap looking specifically at the receptor binding protein is higher with pangolins than bats. We need to say those two things to then make the inference that it's more likely to have come from pangolins than bats.
That's right.
So it's just it's kind of like a modus ponens. Like P and Q implies R, P, Q, therefore R. It's like that kind of thing.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now I don't track all the details, but that sounds like generally I get the idea enough. Enough that, I'm going to have to take some biology to understand it any better. So I think that's probably satisfactory there.
Okay. So moving on, why this is so important. You may have heard people say, why should we care about the coronavirus, the flu? If you look about the flu, everyone is just another flu. Flu seasons happen, everyone's used to it. And the flu kills so many people compared to the coronavirus. So why should everyone be freaking out about the coronavirus? Have you heard that, Isaac?
Of course I have. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you correct me where I'm wrong. I'll give my layman understanding of why that's wrong. That's looking at something like total deaths, and the flu is more widespread, right? We're not actually looking at, like, of those infected, how many does it kill, how many is it projected to infect, etc.
Right. Yeah, okay. So the issue is, the weasel is that you're looking at the total death. And you're looking, it's a complete weasel pathway. You're looking at, it's probably not a weasel pathway as much. I mean,
some
stupidity.
Yeah, obviously, some people actually are just being honest and believe that. They just don't know how to think better about it. I wouldn't know how to think better about it if it weren't made obvious to me. There's a problem there. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So the problem is that the reason the flu kills so many people is because so many people have the flu, far more than the coronavirus. But if everyone who had the flu also had the coronavirus, more people would die based on everything. That's the key. And so the terminology here is there's a difference between something called a mortality rate from something and a case fatality rate from something. Mm-hmm. So a mortality rate for something is just the percentage of people die from a given cause or exposure. The case fatality rate is of the people who have a given exposure, what percentage of them die? These are two different questions. So when you are looking at something like the coronavirus that has not spread to the degree that the flu has spread, what you're really looking for is you're looking for two things. You're looking at how often is it spreading, the ease of spread, and you're also looking at the case fatality rate of the people who get of the people who become infected, how many die from this? And so you could compare that. Now, I'll say one thing about case fatality rates. Case fatality rates are not easy to calculate during a pandemic. The reason they're not easy to calculate is because the amount, you can't just take the people who have died from coronavirus. You can't just divide that by the total number of cases of coronavirus. That doesn't give you an accurate estimate. That's likely going to be an underestimation. The reason for that is because there is a lag time between when the cases happen and when the mortality happens. So the figure I'm seeing as of this date is approximately on average about 14 days from time of symptoms to time of death. So there's going to be a lag time. From the time that someone catches the coronavirus to the time where someone gets symptoms of coronavirus, the time when someone actually dies of coronavirus. And the total cases of coronavirus that exist now aren't reflective of the mortality that is happening of the coronavirus from those cases that exist now, because, quite frankly, the people who have coronavirus right now haven't died of it yet. There are plenty of people who will die that just haven't died yet.
Okay.
And so go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm just doing what I always do when I talk to you about medical things, which is I'm trying to make sure I understand. And I figure if I understand, a lot of the people watching will understand. So right now you're targeting this idea that the flu is like worse, right? That's what you're trying to show is problematic, and you're bringing up two concepts. So there's what case fatality rate and mortality rate.
Yes.
And so I don't totally understand. Mortality is like of those who get it, what percentage die? That's mortality?
Mortality is just in this population, what percentage of people die from this?
Oh, so it's not. Oh, okay. So case fatality is looking at of those who have a case, how many die, and then mortality is in the general population, how many die.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
there's an equivocation. Yeah. So you can see the equivocation when people are talking about, the flu is, worse than coronavirus. If you compare coronavirus to flu is worse. They're equivocating between between mortality rate and case fatality rate. So in mortality rate, if you just look, yes, it's true that the mortality rate is higher for the flu, but that's only because more people get the flu. If you look at the case fatality rate for coronavirus is far worse.
And mortality could ultimately get worse if corona is widespread enough. Right.
Yes.
So bottom line, in layman's terms, is that looking at the mortality rate for corona and comparing that to the mortality rate for flu is not going to give you a good idea of which is worse. That's just telling you which is killing the most people. That's not telling you which is more likely to kill you if you get it, which is deadlier, right?
Right.
It's like maybe we can make a analogy for people, like, you compare CVD versus, blowing yourself up with a rocket launcher. And it's like, okay, well, obviously there's way more people dying of CVD than blowing themselves up with a rocket launcher. So clearly CVD is worse than a rocket launcher to the face. Well, it's how about looking at of those people who rocket launch their faces, what percentage die, right? That's like the idea here.
And the main point is if we are in fact faced with a situation where there is a decent probability where a good percentage of the population is going to get a rocket launcher to the face,
right?
Then the total mortality would be great. So it's not quite to the extent of a rocket launcher, but the point is, of the people who get coronavirus, far more people are going to die than of the people who.
Right.
And you can pull up the two graphs over here that stratify it by age.
Okay, are you sharing those on Discord right now?
Discord. So go to the tab. Why is this important?
Can you put it in Discord general so I can?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a problem.
Sure.
Copy. It's pretty.
And for the record, while he's doing that, if we have any corona deniers out here, anyone who's taking issue with what Avi's saying, Discord links is down below. Just come in there and we will ping a moderator, and you can come on and you can argue with Avi about it. Okay.
So this
Avi,
is the first graph.
That's a photo. You gotta send me something I can. Oh wait, I can open that in 1 second.
You can open it.
Okay, open link. Now let me just copy that. Let me open it over here. Okay, and let me switch over to it in OBS. I really need to get a stream deck. Sorry, I'm a noob. My bad. Okay, is this gonna work? It's close to working. I just need to maybe minimize it a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I got it on screen.
Okay, awesome. So if you look at this is just what I was talking about before. So this is the case fatality rate. And then, again, these are estimates and moving targets. Case fatality rates change based on a number of things. We'll go over that. But as of now, these are the estimated case fatality rates comparing the seasonal flu to the coronavirus. And as you can see, for both the flu and the coronavirus, the most vulnerable population are the elderly, people who are 60, 65 plus. And we'll go into the next chart and see that it gets even more granular. But what you can see is that the overall, when you average everyone up together, the overall case fatality rate is 12. In this estimate, it's about 12 to 24 times greater than the flu.
Avi, you're having a little camera issue. Can you just leave and rejoin the video call?
Sure.
Your camera. Oh, there you go. No, it's good. It's good.
Oh, okay, it's good.
Oh, it's
okay.
Did you just flip to it from another tab? It must be when you open the other tab that your thing glitches out, if that's what you're doing there.
Okay. Okay. Is it good now?
It's good right now, yeah. Sorry for the tech limitations, guys. We're doing
Okay.
our best. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, I've got it up here.
Yeah. So as you can see, it's substantially higher. And then I'll post the next graph for just makes it even more granular. See if you can
Okay.
open that.
Yep. It'll just take me a second to get it open. Copy link. Paste that up here. Yeah, there we go. It's up.
Yeah. So you can see that the case fatality rates are, so again, significantly higher for coronavirus across all age groups than they are for the flu.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
obviously the effect is more pronounced at the older end of the graph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The absolute difference, especially just gets really great at the older end of the graph.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the older end of the population are going to be the most vulnerable in this case.
Mm-hmm.
As in the flu case too, it's just the case fatality rate is greater. Now,
but even in the like,
yeah,
these age groups are a little different, which is a bit obnoxious. It would be nice. If
the relative. So the relative risk is going to be greater for sure. So the relative risk will be higher. It's just that the absolute risk difference will be not as much as in the younger end of the graph than the older end of the graph.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the low end. It's a bit weird because these like they're not
Yeah,
standardized.
they're not
by age.
equivalent.
But like you can look at the first three or so on the flu graph, and we can get like the 10 to 19 out of there. It's it's going to be like 0.01 to 0.02.
Yeah.
We're looking at 10 to 20% or 10 to 20 times that with Corona, aren't we?
Yeah.
And that's even for the young people, right?
Yes, but keep in mind for the young people, the absolute risk difference is still going to be, even though the relative risk is high, the absolute risk difference is not going to be so high, just because in both cases they're really low.
Mm-hmm.
But for the elderly, the absolute risk difference is substantial because we're not dealing with very low percentage differences on absolute. So the bottom line is, but across all ages, it's more deadly. There's no question.
Yeah. Now I see comments about mass hysteria. I'm not reading the chat too closely, but obviously there's a trend of whenever you point out like, hey, this is like an issue. You get some people saying this. So can I just get your take on the spreading scientifically accurate information as mass hysteria thing?
Yeah, it's not. So mass hysteria and panic are very different than responsible precautions, which is what I'm advocating, which is what everyone who takes this seriously is advocating. No one is advocating hysteria. No one is advocating panic. I am advocating taking responsible precautions and taking this seriously. I am going to criticize people who advocate panic, who advocate fear, hysteria. I'm also going to criticize people who try to play it down, who try to say, oh, this is overblown. Oh, this is just hysteria. Oh, this is just nonsense. This is panic. Like, no, you're wrong too.
This isn't galaxy brains like Candace Owens.
Yeah, like this is no, quite frankly, the people who are playing this down, they really are doing something dangerous. They're doing something very deadly. You should not panic. You should not go into hysteria, but you should take this very seriously. And by the way, I'll just add that the countries that have had success with it, that are getting their new cases rates down, they have taken this very seriously. The successful countries that have weathered the storm of this virus, none of them have gone, hey, let's just ignore this. This is just whatever. None of them have taken that approach. Mm-hmm. They've all taken this very seriously because they're not idiots.
All right, forgive my distraction. Continue with whatever is next.
Okay, so what we have next, the next bad meme. So bad meme number one was that the flu kills more people than coronavirus. We explain why that's the response.
I thought bad meme number one. So now I get.
Well, yeah, bad meme number one was that. Yeah, where it came from. It came from. Yeah, the bad stuff. Okay. All right. The next bad meme is that you may have heard that. Okay, so yes, I hear you on the case fatality rate. However, what you're not factoring in is that there are asymptomatic cases that don't get reported. And because there are asymptomatic cases that don't get reported, the case fatality rate is actually lower than what our estimations are. So really, there are a whole bunch of people who are getting coronavirus that are not getting reported, and it could be because they're asymptomatic, and because of that, they're doing just fine. They don't get into the sample of people who are registered as coronavirus cases, and because of that, all of these people who end up doing fine, if they would get registered, we would see a mortality case fatality rate that's much lower. You following that?
Yeah, you're basically saying that there's people who are saying that the CFR is artificially inflated because asymptomatic people who are still a case just aren't even being recorded. And I guess it's like if you bring all those people in, then the proportion who die would be lower because there's more overall people getting it. It's just adding a bunch of people who are getting it and not dying, you get a lower CFR.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a couple of things to that. So yeah, there are certain biases in CFRs in the untested population that favor toward an overestimation. What's being ignored here is that there are also biases that are leaning towards of the untested that lean towards an underestimation as well, and that's not getting. So one of those biases, for example, are coronavirus cases that end up killing people before they can get tested. So if the coronavirus is deadly to the point where it kills someone before they get to the point of testing, the cause of death just gets chalked up to ARDS or pneumonia, and it doesn't get chalked up to coronavirus. So in those cases, the case fatality rate, if we would include those cases, would actually be higher.
Oh, Avi, we might have someone for you. Bro, the coronavirus doesn't exist. It's a hoax. I have better evidence than this guy. No proven deaths. No one on the news came out and said their family members died. Hey, look, Corona Pyrus, which is the guy's username. If you want to argue this, there's a link down below. It says Discord. Go there, ping a moderator. We'll bring you into the voice call, and we can see how much sense you make.
I think he might be memeing. There's a chance that, based on what he's saying, this might be a meme.
Never assume it's a meme because it's too stupid. You never know.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's fine. Yeah, we can debate him if it's not memeing.
Moderators in the text there. If you see people who are spewing a bunch of bullshit, just tell them to come to the Discord. If they continue spewing bullshit and won't actually defend it, just ban them out of the chat.
Okay, so where were we? We were at so there are reasons to believe that the untested are causing underestimations, but there are also reasons to believe that the untested are causing overestimations. And we don't know which one is going to win out. Also, it's not just that they can be dead before they get to the point of testing. It could also be that we just don't have enough tests, which is also true. There are many reasons that go beyond lack of seeking care for reasons to not get tested.
Reliability of tests, presumably? Is that
availability of testing, reliability of getting testing there in time, getting the patient to the hospital in time, getting the patient tested that's in the hospital in time. All of these things. Yeah.
The vibe I'm getting from you is you're saying there's enough factors at play here that assuming that had we, somehow perfect knowledge, the CFR would be lower just seems unfounded. Seems like you can just as easily speculate in the opposite direction. That's the point you're making. We
can speculate in the opposite direction at this point. There's studies that have looked at asymptomatic cases to estimate how prevalent they are. So we can go to this. This is a paper that's in my study archives. We don't have to actually go through it, but there are estimates that have come out to put it at around 40-something%. Some of around 50%. Even one source has 80% asymptomatic cases.
Do you want me to open this?
I'm not sure. No, you don't. You don't actually have to.
Okay.
One source says 80%. I'm not sure where they got their information from, but even assuming that that's true, and even assuming that that's the case, and cutting the mortality rate, assuming that's just all going to go into the overestimation. It still doesn't get you to flu number.
I see
You
one
still don't get
one pushback point. Someone is saying that we can test after death.
I don't think the numbers that we're getting are tested after death, though. And I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure on. I'm not sure on the reliability of testing after death. I'm not sure that this is. I don't think this is actually being employed. I don't think we're spending resources on testing people after death. Maybe there is a study that has done that, but I don't. I think we're saving our tests for, by and large, for people who we suspect have it. I don't think that's no. So number one, I don't think that's actually being done in a widespread manner. And there are certainly cases where it's not done, where I can tell you right now, we're not, people who die of pneumonia right now, we're not swabbing every one of them for a coronavirus. We don't have enough tests to test the living as it is. I don't see why you would have reason to think that we are in a widespread manner testing the dead. So,
Alright.
So yes, in theory, look, in theory we can. In theory, we can get around this. We can understand this, but if we had unlimited resources, if we had unlimited tests, yes, you're right. And if we had a test that worked for the dead, and if we had enough of the test, sure, absolutely. I don't think that's the case. The numbers we're being given right now, we're not actually swabbing dead people in mass.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay. Am I still coming through?
Yeah, I mean, you've been a little robot-y the whole time, but people aren't complaining, really,
okay.
So it's clear enough.
Okay.
It's good enough. Although you guys should all encourage Avi to go get a big computer battle station so he can do even better. But yeah, go on.
The
continue.
battle station. Okay. Okay, so we have data estimating the asymptomatic population of those who get coronavirus. The data I've seen, and this is all for those who want to check, that it's in the Discord under bad memes.
Under the Discord, you're referring to the Study Archives Discord.
Study Archives,
right? There's
yes.
two Discords linked below. It's the one under Avi's name, not my name. If you want to debate, go to the one under my name.
Yeah. So we have estimates of, I'm not sure where the 80% figure comes from, but even if that's true, it still wouldn't the CFRs down to, it wouldn't get CFRs down to flu level. And the estimates I've seen are as low as, there's one that's as low as 44%. That certainly won't get the CFRs down anywhere near flu-like CFRs. So even if we assume these biases fully sway in the direction that they're saying, we still don't get, even if we account for the asymptomatic cases, we still don't get case fatality rates that are as low as the flu. The other argument that's being made is that as time goes on, when we have better medicine about this, we know more about this, that the CFRs for coronavirus will go down so much that it will approach flu-like CFRs. So we're going to hang our hats on technology improving and saying, okay, well, we're not going to make a big deal about this because, as we know more about this, as technology increases, the case fatality rates will go down when we treat people better.
Oh, we got that argument in the context of climate change also.
Oh yeah.
Just don't worry about it, bro. Drive a Hummer. The scientists will figure it out. They'll make something.
Yeah. So this is a faith-based claim. We don't. I mean, it should be obvious that this is a faith-based claim. We don't know that this is the case. What I'm going to do is I'm going to post this link into the general chat of the AY Discord.
Mm-hmm.
See if you can open this up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay, I've got it opening.
So,
and just switching over. Okay, yep, it's up.
So this is a very good resource. We're going to go over the global, and we're going to go country by country to show certain trends. Mm-hmm. You'll notice if you scroll down a little bit, you see. So first, you'll see the coronavirus cases. This gets updated all the time. The total cases, the deaths, and the amounts recovered. You'll see if you you see active cases and closed cases.
Mm-hmm.
Click on Show Graph for both.
Show Graph.
Do you see a little link that says show graph?
Yeah, what's it doing? 1 second. What the fuck is this doing? Yeah, why am I having trouble opening the graph though? I don't know. For some reason that's
No. It should just flip it. It should just flip it and show a graph. It shouldn't open a graph.
I don't see it doing that, Avi. I'm sorry.
Okay. But do you see active cases and closed cases?
Yeah, I do.
And when you click show graph, it just does nothing?
Yeah, it just does nothing.
Okay. All right, that's fine. What I will tell you is, so first let's just go over the difference between active cases and closed cases. One way you could get around the lag, there are issues with this as well, but one way you can sort of get around the lag time issue is you can look at closed cases instead of just active cases. So a closed case is just a case which had an outcome. So whatever has happened is not pending anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's not an active infection. We're just looking at what the outcomes were.
Yeah, they're
so
dead or
how many have recovered? Right? Yeah, they're either dead or they're. And when we look at that, instead of just total cases divided, instead of just dead cases divided by total cases, what we see is that over time, we start at about 41% CFR, then it goes down to 26, 5, and then it goes back up to 6 and then 7. So over time, we've kind of stabilized around 7 or 8% for the closed cases. So we haven't. There's no evidence to really suggest, and this is going to vary. This is going to vary based on country. It's going to vary based on population. It's going to vary based on genetics. It's going to vary based on policy. We can go, and so this is just an overall global estimate. We can go country by country. So if you scroll down, this is a pretty good resource. It shows China. So let's click on China. Does that work for you?
Yep. Yeah, I've got China open right now.
Okay. And if you can scroll down and you can see total coronavirus cases in China? The graph?
Yeah. 1 second. Total, yep.
The blue graph? Yeah, cases in blue? Okay. And so you can actually see that you had initial exponential growth, but then you see a tapering out, the coronavirus cases in China. So China seems, and they're still gaining cases, just not nearly at the rate that they used to be gaining cases. So one thing you'll hear is that people will point to China and how they had such a success. This is not so bad. The deaths were only around 3,000, and look at their total population. They weathered the storm no problem. I'm not sure that it looks like they're weathering it, and that's great. I'm not sure that this will completely be the end of the story, but if that is true, what they are not mentioning is that China has taken incredibly draconian measures to lock this virus down. They've locked
I'm
down.
just curious about these. Everyone talks about how authoritarianism seems to work well in one context, which is just dealing with the pandemic. But I haven't actually looked into what the measures are. I think a lot of people are curious about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, people mention how successful China has been, especially with the population they've had and how few deaths they've had in relation to their total population. What they don't mention is they put this incredible draconian lockdown on Wuhan. They have built makeshift hospitals just for a single infectious agent, this coronavirus. I'll tell you what people in China weren't doing. They weren't making tweets about how this is nothing with nothing and this is overblown. They weren't promoting. I don't think they were promoting any particular diet that would try to save you from the coronavirus. They weren't trying to sell any snake oil. They were taking the shit seriously. They were actually, they were on lockdown. They did what they had to do to stop or slow down the infection. Use the success of China to try to apply to us, and this is overblown. Completely miss the context of what China has done to slow the spread of the coronavirus. So if they want to make that argument, they need to make that argument in a country that hasn't taken this seriously, that hasn't done that, and good luck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how how real everything I've seen is. I saw one video of someone being forced, like, while there's like screaming in the background, into a little, what looks like maybe like a, what would you call it, like an animal control kind of car thing. Like, I don't know, take that with a grain of salt. That's not science. But
Yeah.
if that is the kind of thing that's going on, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we want to go. Yeah, China's
Yeah,
got no
and I'm not
be like China.
just to be clear, I'm not advocating that we be like China. I'm not advocating we take the same measures that China has taken. All I'm saying is that you cannot. The success of China is not evidence that this is nothing to worry about. China has gone pretty extreme in terms of their measures of trying to get this under control, and I don't think it measures that I don't think we will go. Okay, so there are other interesting aspects to this.
Do we want to go back to the prior image?
Yeah, go back to the graph of individual countries.
All right, we're back at the country graph.
If you take a look at Italy, you'll notice that Italy is hit pretty rough. They're hit substantially hard. They have a very high mortality rate, both active and especially if you look at the closed cases.
And
they have a significant.
I'm looking at total, and they look like they're still exponentiating. It doesn't look like they.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
like China may.
No, 100%. Yeah, no, they're still in the exponential phase. Both in terms of cases and in terms of death. Italy has a very elderly population. A lot of old people live in Italy, and that may be one of the reasons. We can go back to the country graph.
Your camera's doing the thing again. Did you flip to your webpage?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just changed the webpage. Hold on. Let me.
Yeah, I don't think it's
okay.
Good. Yeah, you're good.
Is it good?
Yep.
Okay. So we can go back to the graph.
The countries.
And countries. So you'll notice that different. It'll just be variation. You can look at all of these things. So Germany in particular has a pretty low death rate. We're not sure why that is. It's a low death rate even in comparison to France and in comparison to Spain. It could be something they're doing right. It could be just we don't know why. It could be a mutation in the virus. It could be their genetic population. It could be that it's just a lag time, although that doesn't account for all of the difference. We're not entirely sure. One thing we do know is that this is spreading across a whole bunch of different countries. And this is, I'm not trying to panic people, but this is the beginning. Based on, if you look throughout all the different countries.
Yeah, I think in fact we should spend just a moment on the panic thing. I know we kind of already have, but look, we're just giving what is, as far as I can tell, accurate information. I'm just letting the medical professionals speak, but obviously. I think I can, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I assume I can speak for you in saying your advice is simply to follow the public health guidelines. Don't waste your time panicking and freaking out. Just keep updated on the public health guidelines and do what they say. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, very simple. Don't panic.
Yeah.
Follow the direction, follow the public guidelines, and that's it. Okay, so let's go to the next order of business.
Sure.
Okay.
We're done with this graph?
Yeah. We're done with this graph. Let's go over individual symptoms and the frequency. So I'm posting this in AY Discord.
Mm-hmm.
You have it.
Okay. Just pasting it.
Mm-hmm.
And let me switch OBS over to that. Okay, I think I'm going to need to make this window a little smaller. Yeah, go ahead. I'll size it up. Yeah,
so the most common symptom of coronavirus is fever. Fever, then a dry cough, then fatigue. You'll notice what's not common symptoms are cold symptoms, being congestion, a runny nose, sneezing. Those kind of symptoms are typically they're atypical. I'm not saying it can't happen. However, they They're atypical symptoms. They're not common symptoms for coronavirus infection. So that's important to know. Risk factors will be, of course, recent travel and fever and cough and sore throat. But all of these things can happen in a coronavirus infection. What can we do? This is an important one. I'm going to post this one in my Discord.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the key. I'm sure everyone's heard by now about flattening the curve. So if we look at this image, so the idea is that our healthcare capacity has a certain set point where it gets overwhelmed. When there are enough people sick at the same time, we're going to back up the hospital resources. There's not going to be enough doctors to see patients. There's not going to be enough ICU beds. There's not going to be enough nurses to take care of patients. There's not going to be enough tests. There's not going to be enough medication. So what the idea is that if we all get sick at once, if we just let the virus take its natural course and just go to exponential infection, theoretically the pandemic will end earlier. We'll get through it quicker. However, we have every reason to believe the case fatality rate and mortality rate subsequently will be higher. The reason for this is because if everyone gets it near the same time, what's going to happen is we overload the healthcare system. We're going to just back our system up. So what we need to do is we actually need to stretch this pandemic out. It's counterintuitive. We need to delay the spread. It will still spread, but we need to delay it so that the cases trickle into the hospital and don't flood the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens...
We don't want our hospitals to look like some Walmarts and Costco's are looking right now.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. We want the cases to trickle in. So the other thing is, even if you're an egoist, even if you only care about yourself, you still have incentives to get the infection later rather than sooner. If you had to choose when to get this infection, it's in your interest to delay that. It's in your interest to get the infection later, if nothing else, just because we would know more about the infection. We would know better how to treat it. We may even have certain treatments available at that time. So even if you don't care about public health, even if you don't care about flattening the curve for the good of the populace, even if you only care about the individual, you still have reason to flatten the curve. You still have reason to do something that would flatten the curve anyway, delay the infection.
Yeah, one of the most frustrating things I've heard is it's better to try to get it as quickly as possible so you get some of that sweet, sweet equipment.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Pretty profoundly evil way to think.
Wow. No, definitely. So that's the bottom line. That's what needs to be done. And what are ways to do that? Let's see if we have that here. So the ways to do that are simply avoid if you don't need to travel, don't travel. Avoid unnecessary traveling. Avoid congregating unnecessarily. Wash your hands. And the basic things. It's those are the high impact things.
People are probably curious about just how severe they want to be with those measures. Like, should people not go to the gym? Should they not go to the corner store? Like give people an idea of how serious.
Yeah, sure. No. I'm not saying stay in your house all day long. You can go to. I'm not saying don't go to the gym. You can go to the gym. What I would advise is that you are extra careful in wiping down surfaces. So equipment, especially if other people are using it frequently. But actually, really, in all cases, you should be wiping down equipment. If you are concerned that you have an extra crowded gym, what you can do is you can try other hours where it's less packed. It's better that everyone distributes their workout time at different points, like throughout, than if everyone goes to the gym all at once.
Yeah, flatten the workout curve.
Yes, flatten the workout curve. These are all things that will be better if people get together and do.
Vegan Gaines wants to know, will toilet paper help to protect me from the infection?
Maybe no toilet
coating himself in it?
No, toilet paper will not protect you from the coronavirus.
Sorry.
So here's the we'll talk about this for a second. So I'll steel man the toilet paper argument just to
Okay.
do. So a steel. Okay, so here's a steel man of the toilet paper argument. The toilet paper argument, the best case of it will go as follows. So I'm not saying the toilet paper is going to protect me, but what I'm saying is if I stock up on the toilet paper, then I will be able to stay in my house for a longer amount of time, and then because of that, I will slow the spread of the infection. That's the. By the way, the people stocking up on toilet paper aren't actually making the steelman argument. They're not making that argument at all.
They just want to have toilet paper.
They just see other people buying toilet paper, and they say, I'm not gonna. I need some too. Like so. Yeah, so that's ridiculous. But to the argument that if we stock up on toilet paper, we will be able to just stay in our homes longer. Okay, well, let's examine that for a second. So the issue right now is we haven't increased our supply chain for toilet paper. So what that means is that if the group of people decide to stock up on toilet paper and buy exorbitant amounts of it, which is happening, then what can happen is a lot of other people aren't going to be able to get toilet paper, and they're just going to have to congregate more and go to by congregating, I mean going to actual other stores and getting toilet paper. So to the extent that you are going to be slowing this to spread, other people may just be increasing. I do want to bring in the argument. Tripp seems to want to make a case that flatten the curve may be misleading. So he actually tagged me. So I want to see the argument of why flatten the curve is misleading and and potentially harmful. Tripp, if you want to defend that, because all the experts seem to be saying flatten the curve is something we should be doing.
Yeah, just head over to general. We'll just drag you in.
Mm-hmm.
Go to general in my server, Tripp. We'll just wait for him. You can continue with whatever's next, though.
Okay. Okay, where were we? Yeah, so that's the answer to toilet paper. I don't see why the limiting factor is toilet paper. Also, of all things, you'd think food and other things would be more limiting. But okay, I don't know how many times you go to the bathroom. So, what other things we should not be doing? What we should not be doing is we should definitely, and this is a little bit to the vegans out here, so we should absolutely not be promoting the vegan diet as a method of preventing, fighting off, or helping the situation for us in dealing with the coronavirus. There's
you're telling me that my legumes aren't gonna give me a protective barrier from corona?
I am telling you that, yes.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I was gonna coat myself in legumes and toilet paper and let it harden into a kind of armor plating crust, but you're saying it won't work.
So,
fuck.
And
shit.
It shouldn't have to be mentioned. It really shouldn't, but it is. It sadly does need to be mentioned. Don't promote any diet in favor of staving off coronavirus. Like, there's no evidence for that.
Yeah, there's one person who I really like. She's very sweet, but yeah, I was kind of saying corona is a bit serious. You might, it's worth understanding, right? And her sort of angle was like, you have a vegan immune system, you'll be fine. It's like, yeah. I mean, if anything, I'll be fine because of something like prevalence or my age, but the vegan immune system thing, I don't know about that one.
Oh Lord. The other thing okay, I wish Tripp could actually go on board.
What is he just?
He's just posting stuff.
Okay, just 1 second. Is he in the server right now?
He's in my server.
Yeah, I mean, I would just bring him on or ban him. That's what I do. Like, if they're gonna say shit, they can come on and debate, and if they won't, then just boot them.
You know what? I'll just go through it. You know, let's just go through it now.
Why are we engaging some fucking text cuckery? Just come on voice, right? Just come explain your idea. What the fuck are you doing?
I do want to go through it if he's not going to come on also. But okay, we'll finish up and we'll go through it.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
okay.
do whatever you want. I just think,
Yeah.
why are we humoring that? Like, I mean, I like, it's fine. Like, we read some comments, we respond to them, but Trip is like a known entity. It's like, just come on the fucking voice. What are you doing?
Oh, he's not in AY. He's only in study archives.
Then go to AY. It's not, the link is on the video you're watching, dude. Yeah, but let's not get distracted and make the stream boring for Trip. So
yeah, okay, that's fine. Okay, so then the other thing I'll just mention to not do is not do things like this.
Like, are you posting something
like this? I'll show you. Yeah, I'm posting something.
Okay. All right, let me get this open.
Yeah.
Oh God, what are we looking? What is this?
So this, this is unfortunate.
Oh no. Okay, you guys are gonna love this one. All right, I've got it on the screen.
Yeah.
Is he actually saying something about Corona here?
He says wash, sanitize, sleep well, manage stress. Bioactive silver hydrosol at appropriate doses can kill flu and RSV viruses in science trials. I have added a teaspoon twice a day. So this is colloidal silver, which is there's really no good evidence that this is going to help, aside from mechanistic speculative studies, and this is potentially dangerous. There's a known side effect is argyria, which is a condition where your skin permanently turns bluish gray. There's other potential consequences of this, such as medication interactions. Some types of vasculitis can happen. There's no evidence that this will help more than harm. If anything, it will harm more than help. I'm not. I have begged him. This is Dr. Joel Kahn. I have begged him to take this post down. To my knowledge, he has not. He has only doubled down and continued to defend it with more mechanistic speculation.
Oh yeah. Initially, we without getting too into the history, we initially reached out to help Khan after he lost the debate with Kresser. You know, Avi had done a bunch of work on it. He knew some of the debunks that Khan didn't know. We reached out, shared some of them. He seemed to appreciate it, but I guess since then you've tried to get him to back off certain, I guess, views that you'd consider anti-scientific, and he won't defend or retract any of them. Yeah. No, I've many times I've asked him to debate. He said no, and then I asked him for a discussion. And then I asked him not just for a debate. I also asked him for a discussion. So I asked him twice. He wouldn't even have a discussion with me about his views on TMAO. He hasn't responded to me asking him to take this down. Yeah. So you actually at this point, I assume, think that Khan is a bad actor.
Yeah. No, I think it's unfortunate.
Khan, you should you should defend your ideas if you're gonna go push health things to the world via your big platform, and use your status as a doctor to do so, and you get challenged by other medical professionals. I mean, you should be willing to discuss with them, and to just refuse to do that, I think, speaks volumes. Let's continue. Yeah. Let's not get hung up on Khan.
Okay. That's pretty much it. I do want to go to this thing that Trip posted, because I do think I've been reading it, and I do think the conceptual case still works. I think even if the points that have been made in this article are correct, I don't think that means we shouldn't be flattening the curve.
Now, I do want to say Trip is certainly permabanned from my server if he doesn't show up to actually defend the stuff he's posting. But continue. Okay. Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to post this article that Trip has posted over here. So we are going to go through the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So this is by, so this is medium.com. Goes, you've all seen the version of the COVID-19 caseloads by now. Okay, so we're going through the common flatten the curve memes. There are many more. He says, while all these diagrams have in common, they have no numbers on the axes. They don't give you an idea of how many cases it takes to overwhelm the Medicare system and over how many cases the epidemic will play out. Well, yes, that's true. It's also true that this is a conceptual case that we're trying to quantify. So I don't see how that's a criticism of the conceptual case. It's just saying that this is not quantitative. Well, I mean, yeah, no kidding. So number 2, they suggest that currently the medical system can deal with a large fraction, maybe 2/3, 1/2, or 1/3 of cases. But if we implement some mitigation measures, we can get the infection to play down to a level we can deal with. Again, it doesn't, maybe people can interpret it that way. That's not what it's saying. It's not making a claim on the quantitative assessment. It could be not to scale at all. It's just a conceptual case. Certainly it will be better than if you stretch it out. Certainly it will be, even if the where all the standards are wrong, it would still be better overall if you would stretch it out. And that certainly conceptually holds true, even if it is not to scale, even if it is completely off. Number 3, they mean to tell you that we can get away without severe lockdowns. Severe lockdowns as we are currently observing them in China and Italy. Instead, we let the infection burn through the entire population until we have herd immunity 40 to 70% and just space out the infections over a longer time span.
That's correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't that sound like a kind of obvious straw man? Like severe lockdown.
No,
I don't think they're saying that flattening the curve will necessarily stop lockdowns, but lowering the probability.
No. That's a complete straw man. Yeah, that's a straw man. The curve is a lie. These suggestions are dangerously long, and if implemented, will lead to incredible suffering and hardship. Let's try to understand by putting the numbers. What is the capacity of the healthcare system? This is a difficult question, and it cannot be answered in a short post like this. It has about 924,100 hospital beds, 2.8 per 1,000 people. California only has 1.8. Countries like Germany have 8. South Korea has 12. Their hospital system got overloaded nonetheless. Most of these beds are in use, but we cannot create more using improvisation. We can create more using improvisation. For instance, using hotels and school gyms and strategic resources of the military, National Guard, and other organizations. Based on the Chinese data, we can estimate that about 20% of COVID-19 cases are severe and require hospitalization. However, many severe cases will survive if they can be adequately provided for at home, which may include oxygen, IVs, and isolation. More important is the number of ICU beds, which by some estimates can be stretched out to about 100,000, and of which about 30,000 may be available. About 5% of all COVID-19 cases need intensive care, and without all of them, we can also increase the number of ICU beds somewhat, but the equipment that we need to deal with sepsis, kidney, liver, and heart failure, severe pneumonia, etc., cannot be stretched arbitrarily between. An important part of the equation are ventilators. Most of the critically ill COVID-19 cases die of an infection of the lungs that makes it impossible to breathe and even destroys so much tissue that the blood can no longer be sufficiently oxygenated. These patients need intubation and or mechanical ventilation to give them a chance of survival, or even an ECMO machine. That's an extracorporeal membrane oxygenation machine, which oxygenates the body directly. About 6% of all cases need a ventilator, and if hospitals put all existing ventilators to use, we have 160,000 of them. In addition, the CDC has a strategic stockpile of 8,900 ventilators that can be deployed in hospitals that need them. If we take the number of ventilators as an approximate limit on the medical resources, it means that we can take up to 170,000 critically ill patients at the same time. Perhaps not all patients in intensive care will need ventilation, and not all patients needing ventilation will be in intensive care, but there is a large overlap in both patients without intervention. How many people get infected? Without containment, the virus becomes endemic, and leading epidemiologists like Mark Lipschitz from Harvard and virologist Christian Drosten estimate between 40 and 70% of the population will get infected until we develop some degree of herd immunity. Unfortunately, we do not know how long this immunity lasts. We already observed multiple strains of COVID-19, and we'll see many more due to the large number of carriers. In a population like the U.S., that means between 130 million and 230 million. Let's assume that 55% of the U.S. population gets infected between March and December, and we were looking at 180 million people. What about undetected mild and asymptomatic cases? In the early days of infection, many outside observers were highly skeptical of the Chinese numbers and thought that they might hide magnitude of undetected mild and asymptomatic cases, which means that the mortality is much lower than it reports. The WHO delegation to China, led by Bruce Aylward, found this not to be the case. Aylward maintains that once enough resources were available, the Chinese testing was very thorough, and only a fraction of the infected cases have been missed. Even mild and asymptomatic cases of COVID-19 are infectious, so they matter. How many people will get critically ill? Of the 180 million, 80% will be regarded as mild cases. Some of them will have no symptoms at all. Many will come down with a flu-like disease that lasts for 2 weeks, and which may include pneumonia, but they will get better on their own, usually within 2 to 3 weeks. About 20% will develop a severe case and will need medical support to survive. Severe cases tend to take around 3 to 6 weeks to recover, and about 6% may need intubation and or ventilation because they can no longer breathe on their own. Most of the difference between the death in Wuhan and the rest of China stem from the differences in the ability to provide care for the critical case. Once the person is on a ventilator, it often takes about 4 weeks for them to get out of intensive care again. This is a very slow turnaround. If we set this as our estimate, we can calculate how many people are simultaneously in need of critical resources. The curve with numbers. If we assume
Medical
that 55%...
resources.
medical resources, yeah. So the curve with numbers, if we assume that 55% of Americans catch COVID-19 until the end of 2020, and 6% of them will need ventilators at some point, and we furthermore simplify the model into a normal distribution, we get the following diagram. Let's see here.
I can't see the diagram, but it's all good.
Yeah, active cases in need. Okay, fine. The brown line near the bottom, that's our limited supply ventilators and intensive care beds. Okay, so what I'm getting from this is just that the actual healthcare line, that actual healthcare capacity line, is actually really lower than what is being talked about. So in fact, I'll actually show you these graphs. So I think this is what the case that's being made. And he's saying that his curves may not be correct. He's doing some back of the envelope calculation, but it could very well be like this. So here's what the article seems to be saying the case may be more like. So take a look at this. So he's saying the line, it seems to be indicating, based on his back of the number envelope calculations, that the real line is down here.
Just post.
And this is what... Yep.
Okay.
And this is what we would have to stretch it out to not overload the health system.
Mm-hmm. Posting that also.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the argument here is that what's really limiting here is the need for ventilation, and our ventilators are in short supply, and that's going to be the limiting reagent in overloading the healthcare system for this. But even if all of that is true, I think that would just make the point even stronger, not weaker. I think we would just need to flatten the curve even more. And yes, we may have to utilize things like China has used, things like lockdowns, etc. I definitely don't think that flatten the curve is if it's misleading, it's only misleading in the sense that if we flatten the curve, we'll all be okay. It seems to be that an even greater need to flatten the curve, even if everything in this article is being shown to be true. So, yeah. I mean, I don't see anything in this article that would indicate to us that we should not be flattening the curve. I don't see anything in this article that would indicate that we should be doing the opposite.
It just seems like the article is just attacking a straw man, which is saying like everything will be fine if we flatten the curve. We'll have no problems at all with any kind of overload. It's like, well, just to whatever degree we do it, things will be better. Is that not the idea?
Yeah, the idea. Yeah, to whatever degree we flatten the curve. Compared to not flattening the curve, we will be in better shape. And that's still true even with this guy's calculation. That's still true even with these numbers.
Okay, so there's one article debunked. Good try, Trip. I also permaban Trip for not actually defending his ideas verbally.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so do you want to continue?
I think we're heading toward the end.
Okay. We can take questions.
Yeah.
Though, right?
We can take questions.
So I guess I'll prioritize. I don't think there are many super chat questions right now. Yeah, Nightingale, coronavirus equals boomer remover. I think that's a kind of mean meme. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, tag. I guess tag me. Put it in the chat, and we can address a few of them. Any other kind of like final words or anything you want to say about this, Avi?
Um, yeah, wash your hands. Avoid unnecessary travel. Avoid unnecessary congregation. Do not promote a diet to as a cure for this or as a preventative measure for this. Do not promote nonsense. Do not panic, but do be responsible and do take this seriously.
So Maria L asks, "Hey Avi, can you shed some light on mask use?"
Yeah, I'm actually not aware of any data. I looked for this, but I'm not sure I'm aware of data on mask use and if it has been a successful implementation compared to other ways of preventing coronavirus and delaying the spread. I know it in other areas that we do see some widespread mask use, but I haven't been aware of any data examining it. So if there is data, I'm happy to look through it and read it and compare how effective of a preventative measure mask use is compared to the other measures. But as of now, I'm not aware of a public health recommendation that everyone should be wearing. So the public recommendations that stand right now are wash your hands, don't travel unnecessarily, don't congregate unnecessarily. So, yeah.
So just to be clear, with respect to the masks, okay, I see there's a bunch of questions building up. Okay, so with respect to the masks, are you just saying the data's not clear, so we have no idea
I'm
if we should
not.
do it
I'm
or
not
not?
aware.
Or are you saying it's?
I'm not. I'm not aware. I'm not aware of the data on how effective it's going to be, and I'm not aware of there being a public recommendation at this time that everyone should be wearing masks.
Okay. All right. So there's some others. Cacti Bunny asks, this one might make you laugh. Is it possible that if shower steam can help clear, I think she's trying to ask, is it possible that shower steam can help clear lungs and help with coronavirus?
I'm not aware of any evidence that that shower steam will help clear lungs and help with coronavirus.
Just buy some toilet paper, eat some vegetables, and steam yourself. It's all good. Okay, so what else do we have here? Okay, Issa asks, any data on lung tissue damage?
Yeah, it happens. It can happen quite extensively depending on the patient and depending on the severity of the condition. There's all sorts of CT scans you can take a look at for coronavirus cases that show ARDS, frank ARDS. So yes, this virus, especially in severe cases, does it work? That's how it works. It will damage lung tissue. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, Avi, do you think this is going to be the stock market? What do you think is going to be the stock market impact of this? I mean, I don't know if you have a view on that. It's not really a helpful.
Let me just pull out my crystal globe and I'll evaluate. No, I mean we can speculate. People have speculated about because of the lack of travel, then gas oil prices have tanked. But again, I'm not comfortable speculating on the stock market.
Okay.
That's completely not my area.
That's fine. When do you think flooding will begin? I assume they mean flooding of the healthcare system.
Flooding into the healthcare system? Well, in many cases, it already has begun. In Italy, it already has begun. It's starting to happen in Iran. So I don't know. I don't know when it's going to. If you're asking with respect to the United States, I'm not sure. But I think in many places it's already here, and so this is why it's more important than ever to try to flatten the curve. And again, this is not saying, just for the trip meme, this is not saying that flooding won't happen if we flatten the curve, but it would happen less if we flatten the curve.
Such a silly straw man. Yeah. So Shay for $2, Avi, can I still go to the gym and get shredded?
You can still go to the gym and get shredded. What I would advise you to do at this point, and again, the recommendations can change. Just keep in mind, nothing I say is set in stone. I'm just saying this at this point in time, as of March 15th. What I would recommend is you have a wipe down for the equipment that you use. One thing that you may want to consider is using the gym at a time where other people don't frequently use it. So you can try to flatten that gym usage time up so not everyone's going at the same hour of the day.
Evan asks if you have any thoughts on vaccine development. What do they say? Timelines like over a year or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. We don't. We're not. From what I've heard, we're not close to a vaccine right now, and we're gonna probably have a good amount of the time until we ever get a vaccine for this. So we're not. Don't expect a vaccine anytime in the near future.
So Vegan Gains asks, do you think the estimated death toll of 500,000 in the U.S. will be accurate?
I think it depends on what we do. The thing is, these are going to be moving targets that are going to depend on how we respond to it. CFRs are dependent almost, well, not entirely, but immensely on the attitude of the people. If we are lax about this and we are Twitter memeing about how this is just hyped up and how this is not, we shouldn't be worrying about this, and that's the general ethos of the United States, I would not be surprised if we end up with the death toll around that number. If we take this seriously, we can make it lower. And we can just look to other countries. Other countries have taken extreme measures, and they have gotten, right now, China has, they're not exponential at this point, and they have a death toll at 3,000, with a much larger population than we do.
There's a lot of questions, dude. You'll just have to tell me when you're done, because I don't know if they're going to stop.
No, we can keep going.
So, Julian W., anything known about potentially becoming immune?
From what I've heard, the people who have become infected do not become and have developed symptoms and recovered don't become reinfected. That could change. This is just as of what we know now. That can change if there's data on people who have become reinfected with it. I'd like to know about that. But as of now, I don't think that we've been seeing reinfection cases of coronavirus.
Okay, so this is sort of similar. You're saying, can you spread corona? This is from Moominet. Sorry about that. I don't know how to say that. Can you still spread corona if you've been infected but gotten healthy again? Can you spread through fluids even if you're asymptomatic?
Yeah, so I think there is a period of time when someone is asymptomatic and they can spread it. This is asymptomatic before symptom development. I don't think we've seen spreading for people who have recovered from this, who have fully recovered from corona. I'm not aware of cases where they've spread significantly after.
So we've got, they just keep coming. Well, Cacti Bunny's got another. Does it have an incubation period?
Yes, coronavirus does have an incubation period. The incubation period varies. It could be, the incubation period can be, it ranges from a few weeks. Actually, yeah, incubation period has a range to it. I believe it's around time of death. I think is around 14 days, but I think it's somewhere around 14 days with the incubation period. I just looked this up actually. Oh yeah, incubation period. Mean incubation period is 5 to 6 days. The WHO but the range of the incubation period is 1 to 14 days. So there are also reports. The wrinkle I'll add to that is there are reports of cases with longer incubation periods in the media. There has been a case of 27 days that has been reported as an incubation. So so mean 5 to 6 days, range 1 to 14. However, there are some crazy outliers that have gone as up to 27.
Will it mutate into a less harmful strain like SARS did? We can only speculate. I assume that's your answer, right?
Here's if people want to go crazy with next strain, I'll post that in the Discord. This is a breakdown of the phylogeny of the coronavirus. Here it is, and all the mutations that we've been documenting. So it can mutate into a less harmful strain. It can also, by the way, mutate into a more harmful strain. We don't know.
Okay, they just keep coming. So let's see what else there is here. Holy crap. All right. Do you believe the numbers out of China?
Based on everything okay, so here's what I'll say about that. I'll say that if the numbers out of China turn out to not be accurate, I think it's more likely that the numbers out of China will be underestimations rather than overestimates. So as of now, I don't see a reason to think they will be any. There are speculations as to cases that people have been turned home without being tested to die of quote unquote old age or natural causes. I don't know if that is true or if that is not. I don't know if that was because of, if it is true, I don't know if that was because of a lack of resources or because of overt intention to cause a distortion of the data. But what I will say is if the numbers turn out, so I don't, as of now, I'll just take the numbers for what they are. I would have to just speculate to say they're inaccurate. But what I do think is that I would lean on the side, if they are inaccurate, I would, and I had to pick if they were an overestimation versus an underestimation, I would lean toward an underestimation.
I see we've got another anti-corona sophist. Coronavirus has been around for years. Vegan Marshall. I mean, we're going to stream for a few more minutes here before we get started on the next stream.
This can be answered right now. Yeah.
Well,
so
I was gonna say, Marshall, if you want to, I think that he's more like the vibe I'm getting from the comments. He thinks he's got a counter to the things you're saying. If you want to come argue, just come by the server, go to general, we'll drag you in. But yeah, what do you have to say to that, Avi?
Yeah, so it's true that coronavirus has been around for years, but the issue is that not all coronaviruses are equal. There are different. The point is that this is a coronavirus. It's a novel coronavirus, and it's a coronavirus that we don't already have a general immunity to in the population. That's what makes it a pandemic, rather than just something that's endemic. So yes, that's true. There are coronavirus cases. Look, even if you look at the Spanish flu. You can make the case, flu has been around for so many years. Like, yes, that's true. But what made the Spanish flu so deadly is that it was a novel case. And that's what made it a pandemic. So, yes, we know coronaviruses have been around, but this is not the same coronavirus. I mean, it's just so basic.
Yep. Okay, got one from Ruth. Does exercise temporarily lower immunity while performing the exercise through being generally healthy and somehow affect risk of infection during the exercise? I mean,
okay, if you get to a point where you are overtraining, sure. But again, I wouldn't hang my hat on this temporary part of after an exercise that my immune system is going to be weakened. Just in general, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, a lot of this, what people are saying about boosting your immune system or having your immune system depreciated, unless we're talking about immunosuppressants or we're talking about like pharmacologic immunomodulators, it's probably, as long as you exercise, maintain a healthy diet, get sleep, all the things that generally people should be doing, it's not going to clinically significantly matter. Like immune boosting supplements, concerns about your immune system being suppressed. I wouldn't hang my hat on any of these things. I don't think there's any strong evidence for any of these claims. And again, that's another thing we shouldn't do. We shouldn't be promoting immune boosters, and we shouldn't be promoting fear about immune suppressors.
I think let's end it on a kind of positive note. Avi, do you think, let me read this exactly how it's phrased. Can it be spreaded back to bats and used as a weapon?
So spread back to bats and used as a weapon against bats? Is that the idea here?
I think that's the idea.
All right. So in theory, that's possible. Sure. Like there could be a pandemic from human to, I don't see why it wouldn't be possible. I think that's incredibly unlikely to happen. One thing I want to touch on is there have been some anecdotes. This hasn't been published. There have been some anecdotes here about the people who have required ICU care in young populations infected with COVID. They have been ones using NSAIDs, so Advil, Aleve, aspirin. I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's because they reduce the fever and the fever is somehow improving the case. If that's the reason, I don't know why Tylenol would be preferable. There could be another mechanism involved in there. Certain other viruses, certain other infectious agents do have interactions with NSAIDs, especially aspirin. So there's not much more I can say about that other than be cautious about NSAID use if you do get coronavirus and in general. So as of now, all we have are anecdotes. These are anecdotes from ICU doctors, I believe, or doctors, I believe, in Europe.
All right. Well, I think that we've gotten out some of the bad memes, put out the good memes, addressed a few questions. We have to do another stream. So, I mean, you want to just call it there?
Oh,
Unless there's anything else.
Another thing people are asking about ACE. ACE. I think that people are asking about ACE inhibitors. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if ACE. I'm not sure if. I don't think we have good data on the ACE inhibitors. I think this is all just speculation. Okay.
All right.
At this point.
Well, guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope that gave you some good ideas. If you have more questions, you just come by the server. It's easy to find Avi in there. You can just ping him, at Avi, and I'm sure that he can address your questions. There's other doctors in there too who might, have some input. So yeah, go sub to Avi. It's down below. We'll be streaming there, doing part 2 of Cresser Wilkes. So yeah, that'll be on shortly. Okay, it's good chatting with you, Avi. Let's go over to your channel.
All right. Let's